Hi, welcome to The Pursuit of Truth. So I was watching a film called The Hate You Give. I don't know why films like this don't win Oscars. I mean, the storytelling, the direction, the acting, the fact that it was a movie that made you think and isn't just about entertainment. I'm surprised. Well, maybe I'm not, because it was trying to truth tell. That's probably why it didn't get an Oscar. It doesn't fit into the box. But it was a really good film. It made you think. It challenged your perceptions. I think this is the type of film that they should sit teenagers down to watch. I know it could be awkward because it was very cleverly done in the way that it was, especially with the officer who shot the black teenager who was just brushing his hair, in the way that they didn't make it obvious that he was a racist. They were, there was no, the way he pulled him over, I think, was it to do with the tail light or I don't know exactly what it was, but there wasn't really much that he said or acted in a way that showed him to be, other than that he followed stereotypes and the idea that he asked him, like, have you done drugs, which he might not have asked a white person. So I thought it was very clever the way that they made that. At first I was thinking, because I was saying to my wife, why they didn't make it more, that he said racist things, or, not that he was Ku Klux Klan, dressed as Ku Klux Klan, but just so that it made it more obvious. But I guess they were trying to channel the unconscious or subconscious racism that I mentioned in the last podcast that John Barnes brought up, which I'm still thinking about. It's very worrying when you think about that, the idea that, because he was suggesting that all of us have different levels of, say, racism or misogyny or whichever field or dynamic. And to think that it is quite worrying, but I suppose it is true, because if you think about it, because I was thinking about when the moment when I think he's a young uncle, he's a police officer, and the girl who was in the car with the guy who got shot was questioning him about stereotypes, I guess, or how he would have reacted if it had been a white man. Like, would he have said, put your hands up, before he shot him? And he said yes, he would have done if it was a white person. And that buys into the stereotyping of white and black people. And I suppose that's why we all do have these different levels, like John Barnes talking about, because we were all once children who didn't, I don't think we intrinsically have these racist or misogynistic or whichever things when we're born. We're taught them sometimes subtly by the way we don't maybe act, or we don't say something at the right time to a child with a young mind, or maybe they're more obvious, where it's like in films, stereotyping, i.e. like anyone who's done media, anyone who studied films knows about the white hat and the black hat. That's how they describe, like, a cowboy. The one wearing the white hat is the good guy, the hero, and the one wearing the black hat is the black hat is the baddie. We all know about that. We've all seen that in films where, who are the baddies? Historically, they started off being German because of the Second World War, then they became Russian because of the Cold War, and then they became either black or Muslim. And nowadays they're a mix of those, including Russian and Chinese. Why is it those? I mean, sometimes you do get the white person being the baddie, but he tends to be crazy, and that's how they sort of navigate around that, as almost giving an excuse for his badness. But if you look at how movies in the past we've all watched when we were young and our minds were growing, we watched these things where, the stereotype of a black person is he's a thug or violent or a gangster, and all these different things, with Russians, how Russians are devious. These are the stereotypes that are in TV and films that we watch, like The Professionals, or I don't know what, I'm just pulling a TV program out of the air, but I'm sure there's lots of programs that we all watched when we were young and still watching now. that feed into those, because they always have to have, like a drama has to have like a resolution. It has to have a good guy and a bad guy. It always has that. And when you think about the good guy, like say Bruce Willis, the action hero, he's white. When you think of all these action heroes, they tend to be white. These superheroes, they tend to be white. There is this in the movie and TVs. Yeah, it's changing now because it's been brought to people's attention, or now they're going to, probably because they're going to make money out of it. That's why they changed. But why didn't they change in the first place? But I guess it's because mainly the people who made these films were white, and that's, obviously they're going to make the hero white because of themselves. But yeah, I just thought it was a really good film that everyone should watch. It's called The Hate You Give. And it challenges you to think about how you think, how you defend certain things, how you see things. I mean, I expect in a classroom it would probably be very awkward. But maybe that's good, because sometimes, the people who will reflect afterwards and think about these things and question themselves and then make these changes. But I guess the problem is when, I often say this idea of like humanity being like one, get rid of all these divisions. But now I see from that film, it made me think, and I know Subtle Infinity, which I've learnt things from, and he says it as well, that this idea that white people saying now let's all be one and human and not look at colour. And from me, I see that because I'm trying to see past division and trying to see the ultimate truth that we're all the same and that we shouldn't divide each other in colour. But I understand those who see that as a form of racism, in the sense that trying to not accept, now that people are accepting black people in different media and things like that, that now to try and say, oh, let's just forget about all that. But yeah, it's right, for a person who is of colour, I could never see that, because I've never been pulled over, once was stopped by a policeman, but I've never been treated in the same way. I've never had to worry about teaching my I will, because I don't like to use the word mixed race, because I don't believe in these things. I believe in them being human beings. But I have mixed race children, and I will have to, I guess, have that talk about. When I was watching it, seeing the father do it, there were several times I cried watching that film, because just imagine how, I can't even imagine, is it, as a white person, how can I? Because I am privileged because of my skin colour. I know the way when I go to South Africa, how I'm treated. I see it. I don't like it when I get elevated. But I see how I am treated because of the colour of my skin. Maybe also from the place I come from as well. But people shouldn't do that, because we're all equal. And maybe I do get this idea of that we should be able to see colour and then celebrate it. But I just worry that the problem is, by seeing colour, is it causes these divisions, even with culture and things like that. But then I guess that's my idea of us all being just human beings and seeing things the same way is probably an impossibility because of all the history, and just maybe it is impossible because we all do like to group. And so maybe it's better that we all just, I don't know, I see the danger in that division. That's the problem. But yeah, I understand that maybe first what we've got to do is accept everyone for what we are. And once we've done that, once everyone is equal, once a white man, a black man, an Asian man, Muslim, Christian, whatever the dynamic, once everyone is seen as equal, when the problem is, how is that possible? Because people wearing a white coat, politicians, celebrities, they get extra power even though we're all equal. The problem is that, like I always come down to, is the system, the way we live, the way we choose to live, this idea of illusionary power is the problem. Because once a person gets power, like a policeman, look how they act. So I don't know how this is solved. That's the big problem. What is the... I guess first we have to all accept each other and love each other before maybe we can move on to my, utopian thing of everyone being seen as human and not needing to divide, because the problem I see with division is it creates that. Once you have that division, people see that, or maybe that's a training. Maybe we can see division as long as we're trained not to see it as a divisive thing, not to see it as something negative. I don't know, but I guess through history I've seen that dividing things, like dividing countries, creating patriotism is part of the problem, part of us not seeing past, the actual essence of humanity is that we are all one, and that we've all been given this chance to live together on this place that we found ourselves upon, and we should work together for the betterment of all of us, not for particular groups or etc. like that. So I guess that's why I see the divisiveness of categorizing things. Anyway, hopefully YouTube won't ban me for talking truths or questioning things. Take care, take it easy, God bless and peace.